much your role changes when you're out here at camp and watching some of these undrafted guys or back end rookie guys compete?
Yeah, just looking for competition every day. I think the biggest thing from you look at the 90-man roster from last year to this year is improving the depth. You know, we don't want anybody to be comfortable every day. We wanted to make sure, hey, everyone has to earn their check, and I think at whatever level you are on the roster, the undrafted guys are going to give in an equal opportunity. You see how many rookies that we played last year, and it's merit-based. You know, best man wins out.
A testament to that was how many undrafted guys you had last year, just opposed to what you guys have this year. Is that a testament to the depth you guys built last season as opposed to where you are now?
Yeah, I think we improved the depth, and I think, you know, as you turn the roster, especially that bottom third, you do a better job in year one, year two. You know, you're not going to have that much attrition where you're going to need those heavier numbers.
How much have you, I mean, you've been here more than a year now.
Yeah.
How much has your role in general grown, and have you done, you know, the other parts of what comes to being a general manager or assistant general manager, you know, like getting involved in contract negotiations, being involved in a little more probably in free agency and that stuff?
Yeah, Jordan, it's a kitchen sink, actually. Hasn't changed. It's been the same throughout, where I've been fortunate with my relationship with Joe. Is everything from us doing the renovation on the draft room and free agency and trade talks and contract, all those things fall under the umbrella. You know, I like to steal Joe's words where he says, hey, somehow, you know, I'm not available one day, you know, the ship should be, rowing smooth and the boat all goes in the same way and the agenda doesn't change. That's why, you know, I'm so glad that we're tight at the hip.
From your standpoint, how important was it to just be faster as a team, and especially as an offense? Watching those receivers, it seems a stark difference.
Yeah, I think that's part of the collaboration process. You know, we get with the coaches in the postseason. We say, hey, how do we, you know, get better? You know, what areas do we need to improve on? We're not satisfied in how the season ended, and being explosive is wonderful. You see him from the tight end position to the wide receiver position. You don't have to accumulate long drives when you can have, you know, the quick strike ability.
How has Ryan Cowden fit in?
Oh, great. With Ryan, I like to say the evaluators evaluate the evaluators, and out on the road, you know, Ryan and I, we've crossed over for years, and I think he's another valuable piece that we're able to add. You know, I'd say no different than the roster. Front office is you want to acquire, develop, and retain. You know, you want to bring the best talent in and develop the talent that you do have, and then hopefully you can retain it. So with Ryan, you know, he's another piece that he's going to be a vital part to our decision-making group, along with obviously Tim, Dennis, Chris Rossetti, and you know, our area scouts and our pro department.
Where did things stand with Saquon? Do you expect that they're negotiating up until the July 18th?
Yeah, Tom, I appreciate you asking the question. You know, obviously we've been going you know, around with Saquon in communication since probably about 9 months now, but you know, that's above my pay grade in terms of just divulging, you know, some of the stuff that we're going to keep in-house. But we love Saquon. You know, he knows how I feel about him. He knows how we feel about him collectively. But we're going to keep the, you know, the family business inside. But, you know, with him, you know, I'm excited whenever he's back. But I know he's taking care of his business right now.
How hard is it to mend feelings that can get hurt in this process, especially if there's not a new, bigger contract at the end of it?
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with someone who is extremely mature, like Saquon, you can separate the personal and the professional. And I think that's when you have, you know, honest and open conversations. You take the feelings out of it. You're able to establish common ground. Doesn't mean you're going to agree, but that's what I appreciate about him. He can listen, and he can digest the information we're giving him, and he can tell us his feelings as well.
Ernie, what's it like to have a day where Bill Parcells and Michael Strahan are watching this camp? I mean, do you think that has an effect on players, the morale, just anything like that?
Yeah, I think it speaks to the culture that we're building. It's contagious. You know, guys want to be around. They want to come back. It's something that you want to be a part of when you know something good is brewing. You want to see, you know, what does it feel like on the day-to-day basis? Is it just something that's temporary, or something that has, you know, long-standing staying power? And I just think you look at the guys that we've added in the off-season via free agency and trade with Darren Waller. I think we've added guys that are about our fabric. You know, smart, tough, and dependable. We're not just saying it's not just a tag or slogan. You see it in the day-to-day. You know, since you guys have been out here, you can see it.
Are you personally involved in negotiations? Like, are you sitting down with agents and free agency, whether it be Saquon's or somebody else?
Yeah, it's a collective effort. You know, that's one thing that I appreciated from Joe. It's all hands-on approach, and it's a solution based. You know, no, there is a, you know, a pecking order on how we like to get things done, but that's the beauty of being collaborative.
You were with the Eagles, obviously,
yeah.
longer than you've been here.
Yep.
What did you take from their run and how they built it. You know those guys very well, and the fact that, there's a hump to be gotten over. You guys, have just not done that. You know a lot about that organization.
Yeah, well, we're building. We're building. We're not satisfied, but we're building. And I think part of that is continue to be collaborative, and exhausting all our resources, especially when it comes down to data. Not just having data that's available, but having actionable data, using it to make decisions. So I think learning how to use all our resources, having proper checks and balances, that's something, taken over from Philly. Obviously Joe's had a certain degree of that from his time in Buffalo coming over, and we're going to, use Ryan's experience in Tennessee as an example as well. And I think that's what I love about what Joe's done is employed a diversity of thought. I think when you have diversity of thought, that's when you're able to make your best decisions.
You talk about collaborative a lot. How hard is it from your perspective to, let's say, balance between what the coach may want for his system to what you may feel like, okay, I like this type, but he wants this type? How much of that inner fight happens within you and the coaching staff?
What's nice is we watch a lot of tape together. You go through the draft process. The things that aren't universally agree on, there's a respect, which is the baseline of all our communication. When respect is a foundation, and what the principles are of our offense, of our defense, we watch it together and say, hey, what are the points of disagreement, and then how do we find a compromise? And then it's based on us, on the personnel department, to find the proper value of where you take this player, whether it's giving up resources via trade or your currency in the draft, etc.
What's fair to expect from this rookie class, and in particular, can cornerbacks, Deontay obviously is the number one pick, cornerbacks in this day and age become good faster because of the way the college game has changed? That's two questions, but
no problem. I don't want to put a benchmark or a label on what the degree of success is going to be for this class, but we're excited for them. If you look at what we've brought in, you guys have been around them a good amount. It's a mature group. They fit our smart, tough, dependable mantra. These are guys that, if you look all across the board, from whether it's first round pick, down to undrafted free agent to late round picks, they're explosive, they're fast, they're physical, they have traits. Banking on the traits that play on Sunday. And it's us, our job, collaborating with the coaching staff to get them up to speed from a technique standpoint.
Brandon, you had a front row seat to the extensions for Daniel Jones and for Dexter Lawrence. What did you learn in that process, and what surprised you about that?
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing learning is being patient. Being patient, being open to listen, not being stubborn, and understanding what the market is. The market, surplus, scarcity, it dictates a lot of things on how you make decisions, and it's also being able to agree to disagree at times and be able to get back to the table. So that's the really the biggest thing learning, is knowing that things don't just happen overnight.
I get on a kind of similar thread to that in your first year on the job. What have you learned about yourself and how it's changed maybe your approach to this position?
Yeah, I learned time doesn't belong to me. I say time belongs to the staff, and why I say that is, I kind of look at everything through the lens of people, process, and culture. People on the day-to-day, I figure out how can we maximize everyone who's on this roster. Process, and how do we improve, get better, whether it's employing new ideas, in culture. How do we put forth things that are going to be what we want to be about, whether it's in the building, whether it's on the field, whether in the community. Those three layers. When I say time doesn't belong to myself, after 8 a.m., you don't know what's going to happen, right? So it's really pre-8 a.m. is what you have to yourself, whether you want to watch film, whether there's certain things on your agenda. Call it post 8 a.m., post 7 p.m. That's where you get back to doing things for yourself. And I think no day is the same, where in between that 8 to 8 window, you got to be ready for curveballs, and you got to adjust.
Do you have a typical routine before 8 a.m. given that?
Yeah, I try to beat Joe into the gym in the morning, but he's usually in a full sweat by the time I get there. So it's usually workout in the morning, and it's nice. We got a good contingent inside there where I don't think it's by mistake that it plays into how close we are. Between myself, Joe, Dennis Hickey, Tim McDonald, we're all in there early. And I try to tell the players, I jokingly say is, I can't expect you to do the work if I'm not going to do it myself. So I think it's one of those things that it allows us to have a kind of unplanned connection point, because the players are in there early. You see Daniel Jones, Hottie, guys that are, Tyrod Taylor, guys that are open in the gym. So it's a nice, little connection point, also a bonding moment for us.
Did you guys do anything in the off season to combat the thing? Well, we came in last year, we made the playoffs. This year's not guaranteed.
Yeah, I think we looked at what our pain points were. You know, we wanted to get better against the run, and you see what we did in terms of adding Nacho and Ashawn and getting Bobby O in free agency, adding Bobby McCain as a vet in the secondary. You know, those things is not being satisfied. It's being reflective, looking in the mirror, being honest with each other, and saying, hey, how do we give the coaches the best opportunity to put the best product on the field?
I know you had a chance during the season, during the college season, to be able to be on the ground a little bit and do some scouting. I had heard you were down in Maryland at one point when Banks popped off one game and really jumped off the film. What was your call like, or what was your report back to Joe that day that you kind of took notice of Deontay?
I mean, Art, I'd probably say in a vacuum, I just loved our process with Deontay. And it's not just me. Don't just give me credit for that. I like to say, you know, our area scout, I mean, if you go back to September, Deontay wasn't somebody that was on the radar. You know, we had an area scout who watched him early, liked him. Actually, Joe got a chance to go see him live in person. You know, Tim, Dennis, they both watched him. You know, then I go live and go see him play against Ohio State. You know, I see him get beat by Marvin Harrison Jr. the first play of the game, and then line right back and play relentless with effort the rest of the game. And then he hands the game and blocks a kick. I just think his competitiveness is something that you covet in our system, especially playing a lot of man. And then you fast forward. You know, we have a touch point with him at the combine. Dave hits it off with him, and then we go down the road down to Pro Day. Myself and Jesse Armstead have dinner with him pre-Pro Day. Jerome spends time with him. We bring him up on a 30 visit. That's the collaborative approach. You know, our sports science gets to spend time with him. Analytics department, he checks out and looks great in all our models. You know, the player development spends time with him when he's in the building. So to me, that's what you want, you know, the full collaborative approach from all departments to look like.
Brandon, you guys had to have a vision when you traded for Waller, right?
Yeah.
Has he, without asking the complete softball, but this is from like observations, you know, watching the practices, has he exceeded in terms of when you look at your team on the practice field, he literally and figuratively stands out on a very regular basis?
Right, right.
So what did you really get when you traded for him, do you guys think?
Well, I mean, we did our due diligence, we did our research. We knew from the fringe red zone, being a mismatch piece, he's someone that, he's the problem creator. You know, you look at what he can do in terms of opening up the field for the rest of our guys, whether it's, you know, adding Paris Campbell, adding Slayton in terms of bringing him back, what he can do from separating. I call it you get to stretch a defense, whether it's vertically and laterally, and he adds to that. And he's going to open up the field, you know, when we get our Wandell back and add those pieces in the slot, Shep back. I think it's one of those things where he's a force multiplier, right? He just doesn't make himself our offense better, but he makes other players better, and he's going to help set us up that way.
Brandon, regarding Saquon, you said that in that kind of situation, normally you can separate the personal from the business side. They're two different things. Mm-hmm. But what happens if the player feels like it's personal or feels like trust is broken? From a front office standpoint, how do you repair that or get back to the business side?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you look at the foundation of your relationship. You know, our foundation of our relationship with Saquon is one of not just trust but honesty. You know, it's no different than being in a family. Family's gonna disagree at some point, and but one thing is what at the crux of your relationship is the fact that there's love there, and I think Saquon knows how we feel about him, and I think whether it's said openly or behind closed doors, we've had multiple conversations with him where there's things we agree on, things that we disagree on, but at the end of the day, he knows how we feel about him, and it's nothing that's something that's not going to change.
Why do you think the market was okay?
Have you talked to him since Sunday? Or his people?
No, I haven't, but at the same time, like I said, we're going to keep those conversations close to the vest. Like I said, I want to handle that in-house, and same thing with Joe and Dave's, but he knows how we feel about him. That's not changing.
Why should that market, that position, has become so depressed, where every position's going up, and running backs actually going down? Right?
I don't wholeheartedly agree with that every position is going up. I mean, you look at what's happened in the safety market. You see guys that signed big contracts in the last round of deals with safety market get released. I think you look at some of the linebackers. I thought they were going to get more money. It wasn't there, and they had to wait it out. I just think precedent sets the market. And that's something that we don't control it. We don't. What we do is we try to forecast and react. So that's what we've done, and The market is the market, but I think precedent dictates where it sits.
The
Brandon, when you look at how many-
scouting is like recruiting. You got to kind of do it every day, and it was good to see some of the guys you brought in last year on the back end go to the USFL, go to the XFL, and have success. How beneficial is it for you guys to see some of those guys you brought in to have that success? And how important are those alternate leagues to kind of help you guys do a better job of acquiring pro-ready talent?
Yeah, I think when you look at those other leagues, it provides opportunity for reps and constructive reps. You know, guys that you see flash at times in practice, you don't see them in, call it, high volatile situations where they have to adjust to sudden change. And I think you're getting a bigger picture and sample size of them in these alternative leagues. It's better for the league in general. And I think the fact that we've had guys that have placed there and have done well, it shows that we're identifying the right traits. And as they develop, you know, there's always opportunity to circle back on them. Maybe there's a deficiency that becomes a strength or an area that, you know, is now functional on a 53-man roster or a 90-man roster. That's, you know, why those alternative leagues, you know, they have value. You know, it may not be a guy that's going to be a frontline starter, but maybe an eventual depth guy. So I think those are things that we're always going to unturn every stone and see if there's any value for us in any of those supplemental leagues.